Our next wine region was Ribera del Duero in Spain. And so we were going to leave Portugal and then drive across the border to Spain. And this trip was about 4 hours. This is us leaving the Douro Valley. That's a winery as you left and headed east from the Douro Valley. The terrain was beautiful. It started to flatten out as we got a little further along. So you're basically driving along the Douro River, as named in Portugal, or Duero, Ribera del Duero, River of the Duero, when you're in Spain. So the name just changed as you crossed over. We left the Douro Valley, and this was just after we had the electric boat tour. Lynn and I toured on the Douro Valley on the river, and we, set our directions to go to the monastery over in Ribera del Duero. And you can see this is about a 4-hour drive, relatively flat. But it is through the mountains. And we chose the closest city that in Ribera del Duero is called San Bernardo, which is on the west side of the Ribera del Duero. And there's a monastery, Castillo Termal Monasterio de Valbuena, located in the heart of wine country. And that was selected. It's within walking distance. There's Bad in Newman that you can walk to right from the monastery. There's another one that you can walk to there. Canta de la Londra. We didn't go, but we bought one of their bottles. As you head east, then Hacienda Monasterio, a little more expensive. That one's very expensive as well. And then as you continue going east, then you have Lubiano, and highly recommend stopping at Lubiano. That's one that you can walk in and have a tasting. You don't have to have a reservation. You just walk on in. And then there is Epifanio Rivera at Arial, and I'll talk about that one a little bit. And then now we're kind of getting into the central area of Ribera del Duero. There's Penafiel, and there's the castle with the wine museum. Recommend going there. It's in English and Spanish. So right next to the castle is the Protos winery. So you'll see that in a lot of the stores here in the U.S. So if you want a tour, then that would be a good place to go. Vega Sicilia, the very high-end winery, is back near San Bernardo, where we were staying. And then some of the bigger wineries are right there in Penafiel or Pesquera del Duero. It's a little town there. So then you have Emilia Moro or Tinto Pesquera. So this is just a little highlight that the Douro River is now the Duero River as you cross over into Spain and you cross the border. And it just gets smaller and smaller, or thinner and thinner, I guess is probably a better way to describe it. We selected a monastery to stay in, and this is a 5-star hotel. It's a monastery converted to a hotel. And we ordered the dinner package so that we would have dinner when we arrived. And we also added the thermal spa package so that we had a couple of hours in the thermal spa, which I've got some pictures coming up. And also it was central to wineries, so it was easy to just walk to some of the wineries, or we could easily just drive straight down the road. So upon entry, then we waited, and they checked us in, gave us a glass of white wine as we were waiting, and then whisked us off to our room. And there were a couple different room styles. You can either stay in the older part of the monastery, which is all stone, and or you could stay in the newer part, which is where we stayed, and that's a little less expensive. The rooms are traditional rooms. This is the room in Castillo Termal de Monasterio in Valbuena, in the Ribera del Duero area of Spain. It's very nice. Very nice. Great accommodations. Would have been nice to have a little more seating outside. But that is what it is. So that was our view. After we got settled in, then we just walked up to the second floor. This overlooks the courtyard of the monastery, and then just sat quietly and had a glass of wine. So this monastery, some of the history is that it was built in the 1200s, the early 1200s, and then it was added on by a king in the 1500s, and then it was used as a hunting retreat by royalty. There was another expansion that took place sometime in the 1700s. These are all the paintings. So you have Christ is reborn in reverse order, and then you have Christ coming down from the cross, being buried. What do you call that? I don't know. And then it was so peaceful just to walk the courtyard, take in the history. The picture of me in the rectory is where the monks had their meals in silence, and only Latin readings of the scripture could be spoken during meals. The monks sat on the side, and the prior sat at the far end. This room is where the monk's workroom, and in the original architecture of the building. The ceiling is very intricate, and the windows on the east side allowed for the morning sun to enter. The prior gave instructions for the day's work, and this was their workroom. We found out that every night at 7 p.m. over at the winery that you could walk to right there, it's the Baden-Neumann winery, they had a wine tour. And all you need to do is walk from the hotel, walk to the winery.
I got my poppy.
It's a beautiful poppy.
So we waited at 7 o'clock, and 3 other couples showed up. And the winemaker asked if we wanted the tour in English or in Spanish. And of course, everybody said Spanish. So I translated, or I did my best to translate for Lynn on the details of the wine tour. And they walked, it's a very traditional wine tour, walking through the barrels. And then we had a wine tasting. He has 3 wines, and you could see he's just a foot distance there from the monastery. And we tasted all 3. They ran anywhere from $12 to $18 a bottle, and then we bought 3 of them, and then brought those back with us. And after we got back, then we went to this 5-course meal at definitely Michelin quality, with a wine pairing with each serving. And I can't remember what the dishes were exactly, but they were tremendously delicious. And then we had our dessert and walked back up to the room. And to get ready for the next day, we tried our slippers and our bathrobes. In the morning, we had a breakfast buffet, and then I took the drone out and we did a video of the drone following the car, which was on our way. We were headed over for an 11 a.m. tasting with Epifanio Rivera. These are the gentlemen that I sent an email to. I sent a couple of different emails, and I had a tasting set up at Tinto Pesquera because that was a high-end, or not high-end, but a U.S. based, very popular here in the U.S. And then I sent the one to Epifanio Rivera. They said come on by at 11. Also sent emails to La Canto de Alondro. She said she's only one person, didn't do wine tours. So some of these you needed to do a reservation online, and then others you had to reach out to them directly. So it's kind of, find the wines that you want to go see, and then pick them out, and then ask and see if you can get something reserved. So we pulled up, and it was right in their garage, and the one brother came out. He didn't speak enough English. Then he called his other brother, and there were 3 brothers that run this winery, and it's a family winery. Epifanio Rivera was the original great grandfather, and we had a barrel tasting from each of their barrel lines, and this is this year's harvest. and they were tasting and testing to see how it was at the same time that they were explaining the different barrels. And it was sand, clay, and chalk, and then a new line. And then they had the wine tasting. So they brought out the forklift. They put a pallet on it. We broke open 2 bottles and we tested. So they have their general wine, and then they have their TF, traditional familia. TF was 26 euros, and it won silver in the decanter awards just after we left. And on the way back, we stopped in Lubianos, and this is a husband and wife that inherited the winery, and has built this wine tasting room, and also a hotel that's coming at some point in the future. And this is 5 stars all the way around on Google. It's traditional, kind of an American style. You walk in and have your wine tasting, and walk out with some wine. They'll also ship it back to the U.S. if you'd like. And we stopped at a little small cafe outdoor, and then just had a little appetizer, and then we walked down by the river, just to kind of burn off some calories again, and visit the sites, kind of feel the local style. Back to the monastery and off to the spa. Then this is a heated pool with all kinds of jets, and Lynn and I were the only ones. You do have to wear a bathing cap. You have to shower before you go in. Because we were there in the middle of the week, it was really quiet, so it was just the 2 of us, and we were able to just kind of go from jets to jets, and then work our way through.
Oh, well, it was funny because I was putting my poppy in my passport, and I found the other poppy.
That's where I had it. All right, we are on Tuesday. I think it's day 5, and we're at day 6, and we're at the Castillo Termal de Valbuena, the monastery in a town called San Bernardo, which is right next to the town of Pesquera. And where Pesquera is, that's where Tinto Pesquera winery is, Emilio Moro winery, and I can't remember the other big one. Protos. Protos is here. And so we had a nice, very private tour of Epifanio Rivera,
Elial?
Efiel, I think it is.
Oh, no, well, I think their winery
Efial.
was called Elial.
Efiel, I think it was.
Okay.
Efiel? Maybe. Anyhow, so we tasted out of their 5 different barrels. They had 1 barrel that was sand.
The grapes were grown in sand.
Grapes were grown in sand, put in the barrels in January of this year, and they were. We tasted 1 from sand. We tasted 1 from clay. We tasted 1 from the chalk, and I don't remember what the 3rd one was. And then the 4th one was.
Those were the 3. The 4th one was the clone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, memory. And the 4th one was a clone that they had just bought, and they were trying it, a clone Tempranillo grape that they had bought, and they were trying to see how that would work so that they could blend that in. And I think they were growing that in chalk also.
I think so too.
Chalk produced the best flavor.
Yeah.
And then
all the other grapes were in their family for hundreds of years. So this is the first time they bought a new grape.
Yeah, so for their 3 brothers running it since, I don't know.
The great-great-grandpa handed
Great-great-grandpa.
it down.
And then we went over to Lubianos and met Monica. Monica gave us a wine tasting of her 4 wines, all Tempranillo.
And she's the winemaker and the owner.
And really the only wine bar where you can just kind of walk up and have a wine tasting without going on a tour.
Which is really nice.
Highly recommend it. And at some point they'll build a little hotel there, a couple of rooms, and you'll be able to stay. So now we're back at the monastery. Took a walk down to the river, the Ribera Del Duero, and we're going back to the gastro bar.
Gastro bar.
See what they have for a snack.
Pesquera de Duero. Right?
Yeah, we're in the Pesquera del Duero, where we met. That's coming down the main street, and up here to the left, we're gonna.
That's where we had lunch with the big bird at the top there.
That's true.
He's
at
up
the top
there.
of the church. That bird's up there.
Is he?
But he definitely rules the roost.
He does.
We're driving through.
Bear right.
Bear right. And as we come through the town here, there's the big ones.
We're looking for the mailbox.
And there's the Erial, which is where we went to, over on the left. Bodegas Espinosa Rivera. We went that way, and I don't know where we went, but I think we went up that road. Yeah, we went up that road, and that's where they were. And then down here is Tinto Pesquera, which we're going to come upon in just a minute. And Tinto Pesquera is one of the big ones up here on the left. There it is. And then I think so right next to it also is the Emilio Moro. So the other big one. So two big ones side by side right here in the town of Pesquera. There's Emilio Moro. Then passing them, and they're already open. Maybe not. Yeah, they should be open. Oh yeah, there's cars all over the place down there. And off we go. We're gonna go over to Penafiel.
In Penafiel, we looked for a UPS store so we could buy some boxes, and we tried to ship the wine, and of course you can't. So you have to go through Cargo España and have all the taxes paid and everything else. So we did buy boxes, and we used those boxes to ship back or take back with us on the plane. But while we were in Penafiel, we went to this wine museum, and it has not tasting, but it has smelling. So you can smell a lot of different types of smells and boxes. It's pretty cool. And then it's just the history of wine throughout Spain. It's in Spanish and in English. We didn't take a tour, but probably take a tour, set up a tour. It would be a great idea there. And then off we went. That was, the start of the drive as we left Ribera del Duero, and we headed up to La Rioja.